Thank you. Mr. President, did our Prime Minister persuade you not to put tariffs on the UK? And if I may, Prime Minister, do you think that Vladimir Putin is a man who will keep his word? Thanks.
He tried. He was working hard, I'll tell you that. He earned whatever the hell they pay him over there. But he tried. I think there's a very good chance that in the case of these two great friendly countries, I think we could very well end up with a real trade deal where the tariffs wouldn't be necessary. We'll see. But he earned whatever they pay him. He earned today. He was working hard at lunch, and I'm very receptive to it. I think in all fairness, in all seriousness, I think we have a very good chance at arriving at a very good deal. JD and Scott and Howard, all the people are working on it, and I think we have a good chance at arriving at a deal that could.
All right, folks, you're watching President Trump entertaining Keir Starmer, the UK Prime Minister, at the White House. Let's dip back in and we'll talk about it when they finish.
Are pretty well rehearsed and pretty well known, my concern is that if there's a deal, and I hope there is a deal, that it must be a lasting deal, that it's not a temporary measure, and that is why I think it's really important that Putin knows that this deal, a historic deal, which I very much hope comes about, is there, and it's a lasting deal, and that we're able to deal with any inclination he has to go again or go further.
I think we'll have two deals. I think we'll have a deal on ending the war, and I think we're going to end up with a great trade deal with you. And it's an honor to be with you, and I want to thank everybody very much. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
And there they go. There's J.D. Vance right there in the front row, shaking a couple of hands right there. And that's generally the top brass of the administration. That's the East Room, by the way, which is just off the White House, a little bit away from the West Wing and the Oval Office. But in between the two, you kind of have to enter through the back area. It's a beautiful room, and that's where he entertains dignitaries, and the press stays in the back. Just to take another peek here, you tend to see some of his staff, his senior advisors, cabinet members. Anyway, so a little bit of breaking news at the end. Someone asked, is there a deal? Is there going to be tariffs? And Trump said, no, he tried. Starmer tried. He's earning his living over there. But my takeaway was the deal's going to be whatever the UK slaps tariffs on the United States goods going that way, they'll get it right back in their face coming this way. And who knows, maybe they both go to 0. Maybe they both go to 5%. Either way, that's a win for Trump. And he did say that there's likely maybe some deal to be made ending the war. And if you heard Keir Starmer say, Prime Minister of England, say that he called other European countries leaders saying, Europe needs to step up in our own defense, which is also great news. Again, Trump working for the American people. All right, folks, how about this show right now? Welcome back and happy Thursday. Before we get into the show, I have to tell you there is a huge, huge thing going on really in politics and social media specifically right now with the Epstein files. The Epstein files are supposed to be released today. We're going to break this down completely. There are two sides going at it, like really going at it right now. Really important issue. We're going to break all that down in just a minute, probably the B block of the show. But first, let's talk a little bit what's been going on. This is what we do. We bring you the day's news. We bring you the most interesting things going on everywhere across social media, across politics, and then we get into a little bit deeper into it as we get further into the show. There was yesterday an actual insurrection yesterday and today in the state of Iowa at the state capitol. Hint, hint, it was a mob of LGBTQ activists. We'll have more on that insane story also later in the show. But first, Kamala Harris supporter, they're still making a lot of noise. I don't know why these people refuse to move on. Maybe they don't know that the election is over. Listen to this arrogant Kamala superfan basically called the entire MAGA base, that's us folks, well, we're dumb.
If you are wondering why we will never have free college in the United States and why we will continue to lag behind other countries in reading and writing, it's because the only voter base that is still voting Republican is non-college educated whites. If non-college educated whites didn't vote in this election, Kamala Harris would have won in a landslide. The reason that there will never be free college is because people who have a college education vote Democrat. And the only way the Republican Party can stay in power is by making sure that as few white people get a college education as possible.
So whoever this dumbass is, I'll say it, this dumbass is, do the math. 83% of the country is whites, and all white people aren't college educated. You can't remove, whatever it may be, 60% of the voters in America just so that your candidate could win. I mean, it's insane. It's like saying, well, if black people didn't vote, Trump would have won even bigger. Yeah. No, you know what? Dip, you know what? Some people simply don't understand what Trump is accomplishing, like that idiot. One of those other people, Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, who we talk about on this show regularly, alarmingly regular, in fact. Her latest gaffe is one of her dumbest, although it's getting hard to keep them in order. She keeps topping herself. Listen to her concerns about Trump ending the war in Ukraine.
It is time for us to say, Mr. President, guess what? Russia invaded Ukraine. Can we at least agree on that one? Facts matter. Y'all, this is literally potentially putting us into an international crisis. We may be heading towards the next world war because we have a president that wants to pal around with Putin and wants to do everything to make him feel good, including lying about who invaded who.
Jazzy Jazz, losing her mind. I don't know, maybe, just maybe some of that $200 billion we're sending over to Ukraine that no one can seem to find because what's his name, Zelensky, says he only got $75 billion, so we're still looking for $125 billion. Maybe some of that's coming back to these Democrats who are so ticked off about not sending more money to Ukraine. I mean, what has it really done? What is it really? $200 billion that we've already spent. Has Ukraine defended herself? Is the war ending? No, it's just a money pit. And for you to say that negotiating with Putin, the one who's got clearly the upper hand in the war with Ukraine, that's who you want to negotiate with. Crockett? Well, one person that doesn't seem concerned at all about Trump's leadership is Floyd Mayweather. Yep, the boxer. The outspoken boxing legend even labeled Trump the greatest of all time, the GOAT. Listen.
I'm happy, but we're never happy. When we had Trump before, we didn't appreciate him, but I think Trump is a great president. Actually, he's the best president in my eyes. He's the best president we ever had. Great businessman, and that's what it's about.
Yeah, and the way the day's cabinet thing, you probably went around here. It was really phenomenal. To the point you talked about. Team, putting together a great team,
yes,
put together a fantastic cabinet.
Trump has done an amazing job, and a lot of people around America are upset. But no matter who goes in the White House, we're always upset.
Right.
And I think Trump is the man for the job. He's the best president in my eyes.
Floyd Money Mayweather, that is really an endorsement. The full-throated Trump is the GOAT from Floyd Mayweather. Wow, that's tremendous. That wouldn't happen, Trump 1.0. It's a new sheriff in town. Federal employees are now required to actually work for their paychecks for once, which of course they all hate. As you may recall, Elon is making government staffers send an email detailing what they accomplished every single week. Well, here's one federal worker who compared sending this email to living in North Korea.
Today, I responded to the email that we received as federal employees asking us to report 5 things that we accomplished last week. I'm not worried about my 5 things. I have plenty of things to report. I did plenty of work last week. But the feeling of just like absolute existential dread that I felt typing out a response to that email is something that I wish I could convey to everyone, because it felt like such a glimpse into the reality that they are trying to create. And it was terrifying. The feeling that I felt responding to that email was such a glimpse into a possible future here, a probable future here if we don't do something about it. It felt so scary and so heartbreaking. It felt much like I would imagine living in a place like what I always imagined North Korea to be like would be like.
Number one, can that young lady lay off the Ritalin just a little bit? Just cut the dosage down a little bit, maybe in half or so. So what? Elon wants you to say what you did to earn your paycheck. You went 3 years working from home, and I'm sure you didn't do squat. And so all these little liberal crybabies are whining because for once they got to work for their paycheck. Good. Bye-bye. Go be a barista at Starbucks, lady, and take all the Ritalin you want. Maybe get my coffee faster. Canada is a mess, an absolute mess. Instead of focusing on fixing their country, this is the focus of Canadian politician Jagmeet Singh.
I also believe we need to ban Donald Trump from attending the G7 summit. Donald Trump should not be welcome here. Why would we invite someone who has threatened our very democracy, our very sovereignty? Why would we invite someone who has threatened our economic well-being? Why would we invite someone who threatens our allies and threatens the world's stability? Why would we allow a convicted criminal into our country? Why would we invite someone who has such disdain for multilateral organizations? Instead, what we should do is use the G7 summit as an opportunity to work with our allies on a plan to resist Donald Trump and his dangerous threats to the world.
I can't wait till it stays a G7 summit with the United States, Jagmeet, and also maybe a G8. Trump is actually talking about bringing Russia. What do you think of that? Russia back into the G7. Make it G8 like it used to be. Make G8 great again. Jagmeet. Tampon Tim Walz, still losing sleep over the election that they got smoked by. Remarkably, he still can't wrap his head around the fact that he and Kamala lost badly to their glaring lack of solutions. That's the reason, and ideas and policy. Oh, and by the way, their complete incompetence. Instead, here in 2025, this clueless man believes he personally threw the election by taking the bait and trolling Team Trump about the migrants who are eating people's house pets.
How in God's name did the party of the working class lose the working class voters to this billionaire who's clueless? And again, I wish there was some grand scheme amongst these guys. This is all about tax cuts. And damn, if we didn't give them every other side issue, again, I will kick myself that I got sucked in. I bet you I spent 3 or 4 days, maybe longer, not clowning, but just hammering them over the eating dogs and cats because it was so ridiculous. And I took that hook, line, and sinker.
No, Timmy, you lost because you're the governor who made the boys' rooms in high schools in your state require to have tampons dispensed, and people didn't want that, Timmy. And by the way, they do eat dogs and cats. They do. I don't care. They're eating the dogs. They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the people who live there. Ohio Democrat Marcy Kaptur dropped one of the worst takes yet about our friend Elon Musk. Listen to this ridiculous perspective.
Mr. Musk has just been here 22 years, and he's a citizen of 3 countries. I always ask myself the question, with the damage he's doing here, when push comes to shove, which country is he loyalty to? South Africa, Canada, or the United States? And he's only been a citizen, I'll say again, 22 years.
22 years is a long time. It's amazing that Democrats will go to war for the citizenship of illegals who've been here for 22 minutes. Yet Elon, he's been here for 22 years, is American citizen, basically making him an alien in their eyes. And by the way, Joy Behar, I'll see if I can scramble the soundbite by the end of the show, but Joy Behar had to retract and apologize for a comment she made, just like that person did right there. Kaptur is her name. Marcy Kaptur, Ohio Democrat. Well, we'll see if we can get that by the end of the show. I always find it remarkable that Democrats are allowed to say the most ridiculous things whenever and wherever they want with no recourse whatsoever. Listen to crooked Chucky Schumer basically threatening Donald Trump on live television, no less.
You take on the intelligence community, they have 6 ways from Sunday at getting back at you. So even for a practical, supposedly hard-nosed businessman, he's being really dumb to do this.
What do you think the intelligence community would do if they were motivated?
I don't know, but from what I am told, they are very upset with how he has treated them and talked about them.
Ooh, they are very upset. There's no. By the way, Cash is going to clean house at the FBI. Dan Bongino and Cash at the FBI, the intelligence community is going to start to be intelligent again, folks. When we come back, I'm going to promise, as promised, this whole Epstein file debacle that's happening right now. We'll break it down in just 2.5 minutes. Isn't that nice? Look at Miami. That's just so beautiful. That's downtown. That's like right around Brickell, if I'm not mistaken. That's just a wonderful shot there, MD. Way to go. Way to go.
It is Brickell.
Yeah, it is Brickell, they're telling me, right? Hey, MD, can I hear the voice of God for a second? That is Brickell, yeah?
Yes, sir.
There you go. Brickell, folks. Miami, Florida. All right, so there's this huge thing brewing right now. Remember, we were supposed to get the Epstein files, and then we were supposed to get the Epstein files today. In fact, everyone has been waiting for these Epstein files, not just flight logs. We've seen most of the flight logs. We want the full Monty, the full boat of Epstein, client list, who the abusers were, who these disgusting human beings were, and where we're supposed to get it. We keep hearing we're going to get it, so there's a little bit of brouhaha going on right now because apparently it's been released partially. But in the meantime, we've been told we're getting it today. Take a listen to Alina Habba.
With media, and I said, I think America needs to remember one thing. We are going to be promises made, promises kept. But when you're dealing with victims, and by the way, this is a perfect example of a case that was vetted, that went through trial, that had testimony, and was prosecuted the right way. I don't preemptively attack. That's just not the way I operate. But in this case, in Epstein's case, it is incredibly disturbing. We have flight logs, we have information, names, that will come out.
Is it going to be shocking?
I don't see how it's not shocking that there were so many individuals that were hidden and kept secret and not been held accountable. Let's talk about the reverse. I believe in accountability. So you have to now go through your process. Now, I won't say they're guilty until they go through their time in court. But again, now it's time for accountability. We have seen for so many years, Pierce, in this country, many investigations, subpoenas, testimonies in Congress, et cetera, et cetera. But there's a general frustration with accountability. We take it halfway, we don't take it home. And I really believe that now with Cash and Pam, there will be accountability.
Right. Okay. So good. We're going to get all of this information, not just some of the stuff that we've seen and not redacted, highly redacted stuff. We want to know what was going on and who the creeps were that were doing it. Pam Bondi also said that. Now, I understand it's been on Pam Bondi's desk. This whole file has been on her desk for quite a while, but take a listen.
A lot of people are wondering, because you said last week that you have the Epstein files on your desk, is when can we see them and what's taking so long to release them?
I do. Jesse, there are well over, this will make you sick, 200 victims, 200. So we have, well over 250 actually. So we have to make sure that their identity is protected and their personal information. But other than that, I think tomorrow, the personal information of victims. Other than that, I think tomorrow, Jesse, breaking news right now, you're going to see some Epstein information being released by my office.
What kind? Are we going to see who was on the flights? Are we going to see any evidence from what he recorded? Because he had all of his homes wired with recording devices.
Yeah, what you're going to see, hopefully tomorrow, is a lot of flight logs, a lot of names, a lot of information. But it's pretty sick what that man did.
Okay, well, we'll
along
look
with
for
his
that.
co-defendant.
Absolutely, and he had help. That's for
He
sure.
sure did.
Okay, fair enough. We agree. It's very sick what he did, but we need to see this. We've been waiting to see this. The flight logs we've seen. I've seen Bill Clinton's on a bunch of them. Bill Gates is on a bunch. I got that. All right, we got that. What I want to see is what Jesse Waters was just talking about. There's video, allegedly, of several of his homes. He had townhouses in New York. He had Palm Beach, a huge home in Palm Beach. He had the island in St. Thomas, Epstein Island, which they were flying to. Who were they? Who was flying there? What was going on there? We need to see this, okay? So we're waiting to see this, and we've been told we were going to see it today. A little bit of walking back at the end of that soundbite with Pam saying, we'll see some. So here's what happened today. Everyone's been waiting. take a look at this picture of influencers at the White House. So that's DC Drano. You probably know him. A couple others you may know. I think Jack Posobiec is in that group as well. So there's some influencers who got what they call now phase one. Now, we were all understanding that we're going to see the whole file, phase one. And so there's this whole online thing going on, like, why would you release it to a handful of influencers, and why wouldn't you release the whole thing? What's going on here? So some people, anti-Trump people, are saying maybe they don't have the goods. Maybe they promise the goods, but they don't actually have them. Personally, I think they do. I don't know why they're releasing it this way. I mean, it never works this way. It's just, it's such a letdown when you do it this way. Release the whole thing and let us read through it. Let's just power through it and see what we can find. That's what journalists do. It's just kind of weird that every journalist didn't get it. I'm not questioning their methods. They may have a great idea for it, but I will tell you it's creating quite an uproar. I'll give you an example. Laura Loomer online is livid. She said, this level of deception is nothing I'd expect to see, something I would expect to see from the Biden administration. And then she said, I love how independent journalists who worked hardest to break all of the stories that actually made a huge impact on the campaign trail were not invited to the White House. No one would even know about Judge Merchan and Judge Aragon's conflicts if it wasn't for her, Laura Loomer's reports. She's right. She's right. It should have been released to everyone, I do believe. Now, in the aftermath of this fighting back and forth, the influencers who got the document are thanking the transparency. The people who didn't are saying, where's the transparency? And these are on the right. And so the left must be happy because they're sweating bullets, because I'm sure that client list is riddled with Democrats. Anyway, so just a little while ago, a couple hours, maybe an hour ago, a letter from Pam Bondi, Attorney General of the United States, to Kash Patel, the FBI director, and I'm reading it. Dear Director Patel, before you came into office, I requested the full and complete files related to Jeffrey Epstein. In response to this request, I received approximately 200 pages of documents, which consist primarily of flight logs, Epstein's list of contacts, and a list of victims' names and phone numbers. We had all that, folks. We've had that. We've seen most of that. And Pam continues, I repeatedly questioned whether this was the full set of documents responsive to my request, and that was repeatedly assured by the FBI that we had received the full set of documents. This is important. Late yesterday, Pam Bondi says, I learned from a source that the FBI field office in New York was in possession of thousands of pages of documents. So this is, she writes this today, that yesterday she has, I guess, a whistleblower within the FBI telling her there are thousands of pages being held in the field office in New York. And she said, when you and I spoke yesterday to Kash Patel, you were just as surprised as I was to learn of these new documents, this new information. By 8 a.m. tomorrow, February 28th, the FBI will deliver the full and complete Epstein files to my office, including all records, documents, audio and video recordings, and materials related to Jeffrey Epstein, his clients, regardless of how such information was obtained. I'm directing you to conduct an immediate investigation into why my order to the FBI was not followed. You will deliver to me a comprehensive report of your findings and proposed personnel action within 14 days. I appreciate your immediate attention. I look forward to continuing to work with you and serve our president. Pam Bondi to Kash Patel. Kash works for Pam. Remember, the FBI is under the purview of the Department of Justice, which is overseen by the Attorney General Pam Bondi. So it's heating up within the ranks, even of the right. Again, I'm just for transparency. I'm not picking a side here. I just want both sides to get their act together, both sides of this debate. Influencers who got the documents, influencers who didn't. Pam Bondi, come on, let's go. Let's release this stuff right now. And Kash, not on you, brother. You've been there, what, a week? Not on you. But that field office in New York, maybe time to clean house. Might be a real good time to clean house. I will tell you that this is going to be a big thing. It's getting bigger online. And when it gets bigger online, I'll tell you, the White House listens. So we're going to stay on it as well. We have a lot more show for you. Stick around. We'll be right back. Look at that. That's beautiful. Those boats. That highway over across the water. Beautiful, Destin, Florida. All right, folks, there's a billionaire trying to take a wrecking ball to America right now. He's power hungry. He wishes the worst upon this country. His aim is to control all parts of our government, our economy, our culture. He's a billionaire who has the means to cause serious damage to America at every single turn. And no, I'm not talking about Elon Musk. I'm most certainly not talking about President Trump either, who has officially given President Ronald Reagan a run for his money, best president ever. No, I'm talking about George Soros. He's alive and well, old George is, and he and his vast entire cross-country network are actively working to not only stand in the way of President Trump and his cabinet achievements. He has one goal in mind: the destruction of America. Let's get into it. Back in 2020, at the tail end of President Trump's first presidency, George Soros spoke to his New World Order network of soldiers at the World Economic Forum, can't stand that place, and let his feelings about Trump be very well known to the world.
President Trump is a con man and the ultimate narcissist who wants the world to revolve around him. When his fantasy of becoming president came true, his narcissism developed a pathological dimension.
Right now, there's a growing resistance to the Doge efforts, to MAGA efforts. They want Americans to believe that America is against what Doge is doing, despite polls showing the absolute opposite to be true. We've shown the results of those polls right here on Bolling this week. People love what's happening with Doge. They're saving our money. And they want you on the left to believe that the resistance is grassroots. It's organic and happening of free will. It's not. Just like the pro-Hamas demonstrations on college campuses, well, they were funded by that guy, George Soros, and his network. Just like the BLM, Black Lives Matter protests in 2020 and the mostly peaceful Summer of Love, where stores were looted and burned down, streets were on fire. That network of resistance was funded by George Soros. Just like the invasion of our southern border and northern border, they're funded by George Soros networks and continue to do so. George Soros kept criminals on our streets. He's keeping fentanyl inside our borders. He's scooping up judges, district attorneys, congressional members. This guy collects members of the Democrat Party like Pokemon cards. Money exchanged, pictures taken, everyone's happy, right? That's a little Soros right there. That's mini Soros. Speaking of pictures taken, look at this picture right here, this happy couple. She, the one on the left, is Leah Greenberg. On the right, Ezra Levin. And why do we care about who these people are? We don't, but potentially we should. These are those out-of-sight actors we always talk about right here on Bolling, the ones who work behind the scenes to agitate and interrupt patriots trying to do our country right. This is an anti-Doge operation targeting GOP town halls, flooding DC swamp phone lines. They have the funds to do whatever the hell they need to do. They have millions, at least $11 million, most of that coming from George Soros. Oh, and Lee Greenberg's parents worked for Barack Obama because his tracks are never too far behind anything that really is mucking up America. Barack Obama. And that lower court judge, Amir Ali, who tried to force the executive branch to spend $2 billion in foreign aid, that guy was Soros-backed. Well, thankfully, today the Supreme Court temporarily blocked that for now. That's a big news, thanks to Chief Justice Roberts, who came in for the win for once and for now. Hopefully he stays on the right side of that bench. George Soros has got his tentacles everywhere, in everything. Courts, federal buildings, the media. He's buying media companies, which brings me to Wisconsin. We took over Washington in 2024. The election resoundingly went in our favor on the conservative side, taking back the White House, taking back the Senate, holding control of the House, a massive win, a strong showing for the mandate to undo years of liberal destruction of America by the likes of Soros. But as we always knew, the Democrats are always moving onto their next plan of action to take power and control back. The evil New World Order masterminds are thinking about how to regain control of the U.S. House of Representatives. Enter Wisconsin. Like I always say, every single election matters across the board. Wisconsin Supreme Court candidates spar over Musk and Soros donations in high-stakes race, says the AP News. There's a Supreme Court race in Wisconsin. April 1st is an important date because if Democrats win, they will gerrymander the state, flip congressional seats, and take back the House in 2026. That's how it works. So, you know who else sees how this works? Well, George Soros does. His entire network of Marxist bandits. George Soros has dumped millions of his dirty country-killing dollars to buy the Wisconsin court because he's looking several steps ahead. It's a Soros-backed power grab in Wisconsin, and it's very important. Those seats in Wisconsin could flip the House back to blue. Why would Democrats in Congress oppose bipartisan legislation aimed at closing loopholes in America's drug laws that are taken advantage of by fentanyl traffickers? That's right. That's pure evil. That's what we're talking about. Look at this. Democrats face backlash for opposing fentanyl. Wow. The Halt Fentanyl Act is supposed to be, by the way, it's opposed by George Soros. And he's backed by his drug policy nonprofit. Why? Because they claim that bill, the Soroses claim that bill will exacerbate mass incarcerations, which we all know George Soros doesn't like incarcerations. So it's going to stop drug traffickers from going to jail. And the Democrats, they voted it down. Democrats like Dollar Store Obama, New Jersey Cory Booker are doing everything they can to stop that from happening. And they're enabling more fentanyl into this country. And this is the craziest part of this whole thing. As if it's not all crazy enough that an evil billionaire exerts that much control over America. So far, it's been determined that George Soros received, get this, $260 million from that group that Doge is trying to shut down, USAID. That's right. You want your blood to boil? Think about this. For decades, we're screaming that George Soros was financing the destruction of America, but it was really Americans financing the destruction of America. They gave Soros our money, $260 million, USAID, to destroy America. I think that's treasonous. So he didn't just spend his own money to destroy our justice system. George Soros used American taxpayer money. I would call it brilliant, but it's brilliantly evil. Why do you think they're fighting so hard to keep the truth about the USAID items, line items, under wraps? This is the worst thing to happen to Democrats since President Trump trounced Hillary Clinton in 2016. You think it's a coincidence that in the midst of the turmoil taking place in his state of California, the wildfires fallout, the economic crisis, the homelessness, that in the middle of all that, Gavin Newsom, governor, suddenly woke up and decided to change the conversation.
We need to change the conversation. And that's why I'm launching a new podcast.
That's right. He's trying to change the conversation. This is the Gavin Newsom podcast, brought to you by George Soros. Gavin is such a good little soldier in the New World Order. Evil and destruction delivered to California with a smile and really slick, shiny hair. Don't forget, the invasion of our country was masterminded by George Soros. This is what he does. The invasion of our southern border is the stuff of Soros's dreams. He wants an open border. Invaders bringing in crime and drugs, invaders suckling at the teats of liberal handouts in exchange for Democrat votes. This is the stuff of George Soros's dreams. And it's coming to an end because of President Trump and Tom Homan and Kristi Noem. Thanks to patriots who no longer stand for the invasion of our country. Judge blocks Trump administration policy allowing ICE raids in certain places of worship, the New York Times says. The Obama judge, also a Soros-planted judge, who blocked the Trump administration's ICE raids in Maryland is the husband of a far-left open border activist. That happened earlier this week. They're stopping ICE from conducting raids in churches while many illegal aliens hide from authorities in churches. Everyone knows that. Anything and everything to stop deportations, to keep the invasion of our country thriving for the left. And let's not forget the Soros impact on our legacy media. George Soros is buying up media. And the more media owned by Soros and his leftist gangs, the more minds reached out to and controlled. The billionaires we should be worried about are certainly not in the White House right now. They're the ones who've been financing and supporting the takedown of America and the left for many, many years. George Soros is one of them. We'll be right back. nice? That looks beautiful, that one. The Inglewood. I have no idea where Inglewood, Florida is, but it looks beautiful. Yeah, wonderful. All right, folks. The IRS is the largest collection agency in the world, and with April 15th fast approaching, it's more aggressive than ever in 2025. Enforcement has ramped up, and if you owe back taxes or have unfiled returns, waiting is not an option. The longer you do, the worse it gets. Ignoring your tax troubles is the worst possible thing you can do. April 15th marks another tax year that has passed you by. Getting ahead of this now is the smart move, but never contact the IRS alone. Instead, let the experts at Tax Network USA handle it for you. Why? Because not all tax resolution companies are the same. Tax Network USA has a preferred direct line to the IRS, meaning they know exactly which agents to deal with and which to avoid, with proven strategies to settle tax problems in your favor, whether you owe $10,000 or $10 million. Tax Network USA's attorneys and negotiators have already resolved over $1 billion in tax debt. Talking with one of their strategists today is free. Stop the threatening letters, stop looking over your shoulder, protect yourself from property seizures and bank levies. Don't let the IRS control your future. Call 1-800-905-8000 or visit tnusa.com/RAV. April 15th is just around the corner. Act now before the IRS acts first. There you go. Oh, guess what? As promised, this is why these guys are great. These producers are wonderful. We have that Joy Behar clip that got her into some trouble and how she had to backpedal. Take a listen. We're going to put them both together. But remember, she took a shot at Elon Musk. She lied, and it clearly in the break, which we don't show you the break, but when she comes back, you see the cut. She's been told to apologize. Watch.
Elon Musk kisses his butt and strokes his tiny ego or big ego, whatever it is, and he doesn't get to do. He can take a nap while the guy was not born in this country, who was born under apartheid in South Africa, so has that mentality going on. He was pro-apartheid, as I understand it.
He's a naturalized citizen,
right?
now.
He's a naturalized
Now he's
citizen.
a naturalized citizen.
Oh, really? How did he do that? Did he come over the border legally?
He had an H-1B visa, I
He
believe.
flew in.
Yeah, he allegedly overstayed that visa.
Yeah, but I think this is just perfectly wonderful for Trump. He can take a nap and let this foreign agent, an enemy of the United States, do his job. I was just going to say that now I'm getting some flack because I said that Musk was pro-apartheid. I don't really know for sure if he was. He grew up at that time when apartheid was in full bloom before the great Nelson Mandela fixed that. He was around at that time, but maybe he was, maybe he wasn't. He might have been a young guy, too. Might have been. So don't be suing me, okay, Elon?
Oh, my gosh. Joy Behar, you clown. Elon Musk was born in like 1982 or so, 81, 82, 83, and through there. Apartheid was over in 94. So what, a 10-year-old? 10-year-old became some huge apartheid proponent when there's no proof of that at all? I'm glad your producers got in your ear and said, you better walk that back because Musk will probably sue you for that. And I think that's what we saw earlier in the show as well. All right, folks, what Doge is finding out is far worse than we could have ever imagined. USAID has been actively sending money to terrorist organizations. Listen to this.
Mr. Roman, are you aware that we are sending $40 million a week to the Taliban?
Yes, sir.
Can you name other instances of foreign aid going to terrorist organizations?
We have assisted al-Shabaab in Somalia. There's been instances of the Hamzi network in Sudan, Hamas, Islamic Jihad, Hezbollah, Kataib al-Hezbollah, Hayat Tahrir al-Shams in Syria. Dozens of terror organizations have received indirect assistance from U.S. foreign aid.
I mean, we'd never know this. We would never know this if it wasn't for Doge, Elon Musk, Trump. We're sending tens of millions of dollars to terrorist organizations. Are you freaking kidding me? Are there any terrorist organizations USAID didn't send our taxpayer money to? But then he explains how it works. And it's just that simple to get money to a terrorist organization right from the American people's hands into the hands of terrorist murderers. Listen.
Let's use Gaza as our case study. $2.1 billion in American taxpayers' money to Gaza since October 7th when Hamas invaded southern Israel. USAID money was going in terms of an emergency use authorization to try to go to parties that USAID formerly had a relationship with in the Gaza Strip. They had to have been vetted by OFAC. They should have been vetted against the special designated terror list from the State Department and from other Treasury organizations. Waivers were granted because they said that there was an emergency use to have that money come in to Gaza, thereby jettisoning the usual typical screening procedures. As a result, 90% of aid that was going from the United States by way of its agents in Gaza ended up in Hamas-controlled areas. And this is ridiculous. Essentially, what the U.S. assistance to Gaza did was underwrite the ability for Hamas to survive until the ceasefire was just passed a few weeks ago.
So we pull out of Afghanistan. We leave $80 billion of assets there. We lose 13 of our finest soldiers in a plot that we may have known about prior to the bomb exploding, the suicide bomb exploding. State Department may have known about that happening and didn't remove our folks before it went off. And then we left some of our people behind and some of the people who were helping us behind. Botched Afghanistan withdrawal. Taliban takes over, right? And now we find out that USAID, our taxpayer money, was being sent to the Taliban, among others. For what? For what reason? Who can justify that? I want to know who signed off on that. Don't you? Imagine that. Our money, our taxpayer money, going right into the hands of terrorist organizations to help them fight a war against our allies in the Middle East, sometimes our own people, whom, by the way, we're also sending money to and supporting. We're funding both sides of a conflict. Sound familiar? Middle East, Russia, Ukraine. I mean, we buy oil from Russia. And then this one. They brought up Samantha Powers, who oversaw USAID. She's an Obama-era soldier. Some say that she was one of the most powerful people in the Obama administration. She was U.S. ambassador for Obama, but to the UN. But listen to her. She was running USAID. Smart woman, but listen.
Samantha Powers, the administrator for USAID, was intent on having Israel not be able to defend itself.
To not be able to defend.
Correct.
And now that brings us back to Elon Musk, the left's favorite person to hate right now because he's exposing all of this through Doge. Like I said at the top, we would never have known this was going on if it weren't for Musk snooping into USAID. And remember, the left freaked out? The left went nuts. Like, what are you doing? You can't stop USAID. We need them. For what? To finance terror? Numbskulls. Here's a funny moment from President Trump's first cabinet meeting yesterday.
Elon, let the cabinet speak just for a second.
Yeah, exactly.
Is anybody unhappy with Elon? If you are, well, throw them out of here. Is anybody unhappy? They have a lot of respect for Elon and that he's doing this, and some disagree a little bit, but I will tell you, for the most part, I think everyone's not only happy, they're thrilled. So,
yeah, then he went on to say, so who doesn't like Elon? Who doesn't agree with Elon? Raise your hand, and everyone's kind of like, because I'll get rid of you too. So everyone's like, no, don't be a hero. Let Elon do his thing. It's working great, folks. It's absolutely working great. And the left going, oh, but he's not an elected official. He doesn't need to be an elected official. He serves at the behest of the President of the United States, as do many in the Democrat presidencies. Clinton, Obama, Biden, they had people working that were unelected doing the same types of things for them. You're allowed to do that. You're supposed to do that. The American people gave Trump the mandate to do that. Stop with the Elon Musk crybabies. He's here, and he's here to stay until he and Trump decide to break up, which, I don't know, it might happen. But in the meantime, we're saving a whole heck of a lot of money, taxpayer money, so I'm on board. All right, we will be right back with one more break, 2.5 minutes, right back. right, we're going to have to use the voice of God. Can I get the control room camera, and can I hear the fellas in the control room? Okay, all right. MD, my friend. MD.
Yes, sir.
Who thought it would be a good idea to put New York City for a bump-in shot?
I did.
That was your call?
That was my call, yeah.
You mean the very liberal, Mayor Adams' liberal blue city of New York City. All we've shown the folks is beautiful beauty shots of Florida, and we're going to go out on a New York City shot of the Empire. Put that
I'll go back to
up.
Florida, don't worry.
Put that picture up for a second. Let me put that picture up. Oh, MD. Who wants to live there? Give me Miami or something, just so we can set the tone here at the end of the show before we leave. You have Miami? Can we do another one? Give me something Florida. I'll take that.
I got a roof cam.
Roof cam, West Palm Beach. I'll take that instead. All right, folks. I told you about this at the top of the show. There's nothing that the Democrats love more than an insurrection. They love to complain about what they think happened on January 6th, and apparently they love to participate in actual insurrections when their radical demands aren't met. Now, look at this insane footage from Iowa where a mob of angry LGBTQ plus IAZLO activists literally stormed the state capitol. Those are LGBT folks, the trans group, storming the state capitol. Now, if that were January 6th, what are they going to do to them? I mean, you may be wondering, what the heck are they going to do? Well, these weirdos, what are they mad about? Well, Iowa took a step towards normalcy and removed gender identity from the state's Civil Rights Act. Obviously, the state's mega-liberal population didn't take that news so well and took it upon themselves to storm the state's capital. I wonder if anyone on the left will be calling for arrests or extended prison sentences or house raids, court dates. That, folks, was an insurrection. But, they never see it that way. I don't know. It's incredible how they're such hypocrites on the left. They're absolute hypocrites on the left. All right, that's it for the show. But I want to let's bring in Natalie. Natalie, would you come in first? Folks, you bring in Natalie. And you're going to host the War Room today, is that right?
That I am. Under better circumstances. I usually have to do it when Steve's in prison, so it's always a good day when I'm just filling in for him temporarily.
And that is a great point. Steve Bannon in prison is a disgrace. It's a disgrace to the Biden administration, the Department of Justice. Thank God they're cleaning up in D.C. now. Natalie, but I wanted to bring you on a little bit early because there's some new polling out on Trump and betting, not polling, betting. I'm a bettor. I spend a lot of time in casinos. I enjoy betting. And I think the money is better than polling because people aren't going to lose their money, whereas pollsters, they can tweak things the way they want to on polls. So, Natalie, I'm going to ask you a little bit. I'll ask you what you think is more likely or less likely. So, the over-under on Trump's approval rating on April 1st, which is, a month and a couple of days from now, April 1st. So 45.5% is where the betting lines are. So as many people above and below 45.5%. Where do you think his approval rating will be in another month and a few days? Above or below 45.5%?
Definitely above.
I agree with you.
That's the easiest question. Definitely above.
Will Trump complete his first full term? Will he make it through his full term? Wildly in favor, minus 300. So 3-1 odds, meaning he will. You have to pay 2-1 odds to say he wouldn't. I mean, most likely it's going to happen. Trump will be impeached before 2028. Again, heavily favored to no. Trump and Melania will divorce before 2026. What are your thoughts on that one?
I don't think so, and I think back to the impeachment stuff and the question about his term, if he'll finish it. I think the real question they should be asking is, will he run for a third term? Is Trump 2028 going to actually materialize?
You're going to create a lot of people are going to go, correct. Which couple will file for divorce first, the Obamas or the Trumps? And the Obamas are massive favorites. What about that one?
I think that's so easy. Obviously, the Obamas. By the way, the real tell, when Barack Obama posted the anniversary picture of them, he posted a picture where he looked better than she did. For a guy to do that, that's like a death knell for a relationship.
Maybe he doesn't care. And by the way, to not go to Jimmy Carter's funeral and the inauguration, come on. Something better to do, Michelle? Will Trump meet Putin before April? So another month or so. You think Trump will meet Putin?
Well, yeah, we got the Zelensky meeting on Friday tomorrow, so I think it would only make sense that a Putin meeting, who knows, maybe the two of them will happen before April.
You know, it's about even money on that. Yes is minus 110, no is minus 130. A little bit more skewed towards yes before April. That'd be great news. Bitcoin. Will the U.S. control the Panama Canal before 2026? And these are 2026 because the fear would be that if the House goes back to Democrats, that he wouldn't have the power to do everything he's doing right now. So do you think he gets the Panama Canal before 2026?
I think so. I hope so. And frankly, the way they're dominating the global stage, I think we should be talking about Gaza, the Gulf of America, everywhere. It seems like they're dominating every sect of land that exists that's up in question territorially.
I got one more for you. How much will Trump offer for Greenland? How much money? And there's a number that they come up with. $1.5 trillion. Natalie, I'm going to leave it there. I think we're going to get Greenland. I think we're going to get Canada's 51st state. And I don't know, Panama Canal, what's next? What else? I don't know. Gulf of America.
And they say we're
works,
isolationists, right?
Right.
Absolutely insane. Eric, congratulations on the new show. Thank you for having me on just briefly. I hope those predictions age well. I think they will.
I like them. I like them, Natalie. Good talking to you. It's all yours now. War Room, folks.
Likewise.